Hello everyone and welcome to EdMedia conference. This is a recording of a workshop, Augmented Reality Makerspace workshop. We faced some difficulties, technical difficulties with this meeting the first time. So I decided to redo the whole workshop again, record it and upload it to YouTube so that you can watch it once more when everything is finished. In case somebody didn't manage to get back and reconnect with us on the meeting, this is going to be recorded as a video, so you can come back, maybe pause something or rewatch the whole thing again. So without further ado, I would like to start this presentation by explaining the whole idea behind it. So this is going to be a makerspace, which means that you're going to be able to create alongside with me. I'm going to demonstrate how I create these augmented reality learning materials, and you are invited to follow on your computer if you create your own Blipper account. So without dragging this along, I would like to introduce myself first. So my name is Sara Mursic. My surname is a bit funny because I am Croatian. But my background is actually in special and inclusive education, which I've studied both in Croatia, Latvia, Spain, and now in England. I'm currently finishing my PhD in engagement with augmented reality materials. I'm in my third year in Edge Hill University in Liverpool, Northwest England. I'm really enjoying this work because I found my passion in this area, which connects technology that's constantly emerging, new, exciting, innovative technology, and the ways that we can creatively, meaningfully use it for education. So for both teaching and learning aspect of it. A little disclaimer for all of you who might be a little bit uncomfortable or scared of this whole idea of augmented reality. I personally don't have skill sets. I didn't use enough time or effort to learn how to program or code, which means that everything I'm going to show you today, everything I've created throughout my PhD is done without coding. So this is going to be a simple tutorial on drag and drop interfaces who are relatively simple and friendly to use for all of you and all of us who might not have computer skills to a level to program something of our own. So since this is a recording and I cannot really interact with you anymore, I would like you to maybe comment under the video something about yourself, your sector, field, or interest. Feel free to add a Twitter handle. I'm going to revisit this page again to maybe continue some discussions, answer some questions later. I'm happy to maybe share my links in the end as well. So if you want to connect, collaborate on this, I'm really, really excited to do that. So idea of today's session is to introduce you to augmented reality, the whole concept of it, technology behind it, and the mechanism of how it works. I'm also going to describe, I'm going to show some ideas and examples, and I'm going to demonstrate how it works. So there are going to be two demo options. First one is going to be very simple. We're just going to make a simple one element AR experience. And later on, when I show some, I wouldn't say advanced, fun features, I will demonstrate that too. So we're going to be using Blipper today. So if you have a minute or two, please download that app on your phone. You can get it on Google Play or App Store. It's absolutely free to use and does not require any kind of account setup if you want to view these experiences. If you want to create alongside with me, you're going to have one step somewhere in the middle where you're going to create your account with your email to access the platform. So app business is free and without any need for accounts. That's really good for your students as well. It does not collect data on them. It's anonymous in that way. So a little intro about augmented reality. So how this process works. I'm going to start with the most simple example, and that would be filters. So if you've seen them on social media, on Snapchat, on Instagram, it's really famous and part of our everyday life. they are recognizing your face. So a device or a camera recognizes where your eyes are located, where your mouth is, and those elements that move as we speak. Then it overlays your eyes with glasses, as you can see, or adds a flower crown or colors the background. And the way it recognizes it is actually the mechanism of augmented reality. It's called image recognition, and it allows for a computer to recognize items in our environment. As you can see on this little animation, on the video, it's actually recognizing a rug, a sofa, a painting, things that we find in our environment, which might be different. So there are many different kinds of paintings, many different kinds of sofas, but we have this software developed enough to recognize all types of sofas as sofas. It will also recognize your hand as a hand, and it will recognize generic face, of course, but some celebrity faces could also be recognized and give you some information on social media or something like that. It also draws some ethical concerns there, but we can discuss that a little bit later when we talk about future of AI. So continuing on this idea of image recognition, what happens when you decide exactly which image you want a computer to recognize, and what would that start? What kind of experience, what kind of media would that trigger? On this example, you can see a similar process in action. You can see we have a photograph, which on the phone is recognized as a trigger, as a starter for this experience, for this video. It's a very simple experience. It's a very simple AR blip, which is created only with the video, one file on top of a trigger. That's something that we will create in 10 minutes time, and it will take us maybe a minute to create it. So I'm really happy to see you use this opportunity, use this workshop with your imagination and your ideas of what you would like to use this for. So it doesn't have to be a photo of two people on a skiing trip. It can also be a different photograph of your family, of your learning materials, of a concept that you're trying to explain. So use everything I demonstrate here to maybe overlay some materials that you have in mind. Of course, we can put this into use in a different way, and we can advance it a little bit. By advance, I mean just one step further when we still use images, but we overlay it with animations, videos, and 3D objects. Here we have a nice moving animated 3D object, which is proven to be quite engaging in exhibitions and museums. So when we talk about augmented reality, especially in education, we have a lot of different definitions. Of course, computer scientists have their own more technical definition. Then we have augmented reality in terms of psychology, how we react to it, how we interact with it. And we also recognize augmented learning as augmented reality in education as a specific purpose for it. Out of all the definitions which I use, this one is my favorite due to it being actually nicely described. So it says that augmented learning uses this electronic devices or system, our devices being phones or tablets or headsets, to extend our learners' interaction with their environment. It means that it has another layer of interaction where we touch things, where we touch buttons, which then activate something else. But most importantly, it brings to life different times, spaces, and characters. That allows for you to create the whole narrative and environment for your learners, be it history, chemistry. You can take them to a specific place on the globe, in the universe, or actually explain atoms in a very tactile, concrete form. So it offers opportunities for our learners to transform their perspective and transform a perspective of their peers in this learning context. I tend to have two keywords when I speak about augmented reality, and two keywords are interaction and perspective. You always have to have in mind that we all start with our own perspective, and we can change that. We can influence someone else's perspective in this classroom, or they can change our perspective. By being able to share our own perspectives with this tool, we can communicate more efficiently. So I always tend to describe this process of being introduced to augmented reality through play, through exploration, and going towards creation. Final goal of this is for you to flip the learning to your students, to your pupils, for them to be able to create something for you, to express themselves, their learning, their understanding. What is their perspective in this? That way we can communicate with these tools. It also then allows for interaction. If I create augmented reality experience and share it in a way with some of you, you will be able to see my vision of it, and then you can give me back your vision. You can create something for me. Also, there's some features of AR which allow for instant communication to happen. So we have buttons for emails, for commenting, for links to social media. So it is also a tool for communication and interaction. Without going very deep, I want to show you something that's more visual. So we're talking about augmented reality, which is placed in this virtual continuum between actual reality, which is on the left side, which is what you see with your eyes through your window around the kitchen. And on the other side of the spectrum, on the right-hand side, you have virtual reality, which is composed of all digital environments and objects. Everything around you is digitally, artificially made. It doesn't mean it needs to look fantastic or cartoonish. It just means that it's not the environment you're currently in. So somewhere in the middle, so everything between those 2 points, we call mixed reality. Now we have a lot of versions of how we separate those, but it's getting blurred at the moment because a lot of different tools are available to create these experiences, and they offer different functions. So we're constantly somewhere in this cloud between virtual and real. We're going to be talking about augmented reality today because it's the closest thing to actual reality. We just add a few digital elements. Compared to augmented virtuality, where we change the environment we're in, but still keep digital keep elements of our reality in it, this is going to be the opposite. We're going to keep our own environment. We're going to see everything we usually see, our room, our classroom, our wherever we are currently in, and add a few elements that are artificially made. What we get from that environment in education is focus, an instant focus to what we want to put there for our students. If you remember Pokemon Go as one of the most famous apps and uses for AR in mainstream, in those apps you would see your normal environment, you would go around the street, you would see it through the camera and just find Pokemon somewhere. Those little elements that pop out, little Pokemons, can also be chemical elements, can be quiz questions, something that will instantly hold your attention right there because it's one thing that's different from your reality that you can see on your phone. It's really useful for students who maybe struggle with attention difficulties or have trouble concentrating on something that is monotone. Like, for example, a book has no pictures in it. If we add some digital elements in between, which may interact with the person, show some visuals, it might keep their attention for longer and their interest as well. Of course, to read more about this, you can find books and research on this topic. We have great increase in research in augmented and virtual reality and the whole immersive world and immersive storytelling. If you're interested in a specific type or specific use of this, I'm happy to share my literature review or things that I've found so far. So if you have a specific thing that you're interested in, I'm happy to answer your questions or direct you to some source. Another image which is very similar to this, but actually highlights differences in devices that we use, actually shows us the same virtuality continuum, starting from our reality on the left, which features our window and the fabulous view that we have from our window, looking through our eyes. Only device we need for actual reality, real reality, is our eyes. And then ranging from there to virtual reality, for which we would need headset, because you need to have the whole environment around you as you move. And of course, everything in the middle. Everything in the middle we can see through phones, tablets, mirrors, or headsets. You can see them below. And for education, I tend to go for phones or tablets. A lot of schools in England have iPads and tablet devices. Phones, teachers are not really keen on due to them being able to serve as communication tools and maybe distracting with some social media apps. But from my research, I've learned that pupils from age of 9 to 15 did not go on any other app while we were doing augmented reality, which really tells me a lot about their engagement. You have a lot of options, of course, depending on what level of resources you have available. If your school or institution has headsets, it is really useful to have headsets instead of devices because your hands are free. If you use a phone, you have one hand free to manipulate some object or a trigger that's in front of it. If you have a tablet, it gets a little bit difficult to hold something with two hands and manipulate an object below it. If you want to be completely hands-free and not have anything on your head, you can use mirrors. We have AR mirrors, which are slowly finding their way to retail industry. Some retail shops who sell clothes and similar things are now trying to integrate those windows near fitting rooms. It would, in theory, save you a lot of time you would usually spend on waiting in the queue, changing clothes, trying to fit something, finding the right color, finding the right size. This technology would, again, recognize where your features are and then overlay those features as programmed by the software. Of course, women are not as happy with how it's working at the moment, but with more and more women in STEM and immersive field, I'm sure we're gonna develop it right, and it's gonna save us all a lot of time. Right, so main question of today's session is how we do this, how we make it work for ourselves. You have a lot of options and you have a lot of platforms that allow you to create augmented reality at the moment. They all differ in price, features, and reliability, and also in skills needed to use them. If you have no programming skills, that is not an issue. But if you do, you might have more options, more, a greater freedom of what you want to achieve with this. In that case, I would recommend you use Vuforia and Unity. Those tools are more robust. They do allow for a lot of extra options. But if you don't program, that is not an issue at all. All the other platforms allow for a very simple drag and drop friendly interface to create these experiences. I personally like to use Blipper, which is on the left-hand side, due to reliability. Price is always a question, so my tools and things that I share with teachers and the community is mainly free. I try to focus on things that are free for education and for our teachers to use. Also don't require a lot of programming so that I can reach more educators at the same time. Blipper, Zapper, and Onyx, Wikitude as well, Lyre, Easy AR, they all offer educational packages which means that if you're using it for educational purpose, if you're a teacher creating materials, you can get that for free. You can use it for free. There are, of course, commercial packages, because all of these tools have started as a marketing tool, which means that they will have packages. If you want to promote something, if you want to use it for commercial purpose, then it does have a price, but for educational purpose, it is free to use. You need to be very careful about reliability of those apps. We know that all of these companies start as startups, so if after a while it's not a sustainable business, if they don't have profit from their company, they might disappear from the market, which has happened to the one on the right, HP Reveal, formerly known as Orozma. It was loved and used by teachers. It was relatively simple, no programming needed, completely free to use, available on all devices. However, it wasn't very profitable, so it disappeared from the market together with everything everyone created, which is not very good for you if you want to spend some time creating AR experiences. I've been working with this Blipper tool for over 5 years now, so it is reliable in that way. I did create a lot of materials, so there is no limit in terms of features. You can still use the full package, and you can have unlimited number of these experiences. So regardless of how many students you have, how many classes you want to do this for, you are able to do it with Blipper. If you have some questions about Zappar or Honorix or Wikitude, I'm happy to answer questions about them too, but for today we're going to be using Blipper. It's relatively simple and quite straightforward. What I like about these tools is that they're suitable for all age groups and subject areas. When I say that, I actually mean that you as an educator you're able to create this material with whichever trigger, and you choose an overlay. So it can be used for chemistry, it can be used for history, it can be used for all three at the same time, because it all relies on your idea. What do you want to connect? So to demonstrate that it can be used in so many different fields and levels as well, I have made a little selection of animations of how it's used around the world. So for sport, which has seen a lot of problems lately due to COVID crisis, we've seen a great increase in use of virtual reality and augmented reality apps and software to follow and interact with sport events. You can also be trained with these apps as a tutorial option, and you can also use them for promotion of sport in a way. On the other side of the spectrum, something that people tend to connect with augmented reality a little bit more, use in art. It is very creative. This tool is made for presentation, for different new innovative way of showing things, of interacting with items in our environment. And it has actually started a full new wave or field or age of art. Artists around the world have recognized the value of augmented reality and virtual reality as well, where you can walk through their creations and have it all around you to be immersed in their art. But this another layer of something that they've created gives them space, endless space and possibilities to create on top of what's already been done. If you Google some of the AR art creations or VR art creations, you're probably going to come across Tilt Brush, which is a 3D drawing tool. It is it's hard to explain. It's an experience in itself. You would use colors and brushes around you, and the color would stay. So you create this painting around you, and you walk around your creation. It is very engaging, and I would recommend it to everyone. When we go to a more business side of art, we come across architecture. In architecture, we've seen models being used for a while now to demonstrate some design to clients or present how a building will look like in the future. And this is a very logical way of combining these things. Not everyone can imagine and visualize how a house looks like from a 2D perspective on a piece of paper. But if we connect it very easily to a 3D model that's available to be seen on all devices, that is a really good way of communicating your service to your clients. And possibly if you go and see a house that's designed this way, you will be more likely to commit to that kind of design. It's very user-friendly. It's made for visual thinkers. Yes, so continuing to history and museums. That is one use that's seen a lot of success lately. We have it in, there's a growing body of research that's covering this too. So if you remember my definition of augmented learning, when we were talking about that and changing the perspective and taking learners to new times, new characters, new narratives, we can show them all that in the museum while they're already there. Those are collections of our history, very important things, and I think by cherishing what we have, we can save our history and involve more younger people in this great value that we have in our cities. So on the apps in museums, instead of having those little notes on the side of each artifact, they have now an opportunity to interact with each object, to see a story behind it, to discover something. You feel like a detective in a way. And when you discover one thing about a terracotta army soldier or his weapon, you are more inclined, you're curious to find out more about something else as well. You would see parents going through the museum with their kids who are suddenly very excited and happy to be here because it's a field made for exploration in the way that suits them. They are quite connected kids to their phones, so this way we're tapping into their interest to show them something they might not be ready to read for a while. It's also helping younger generations so kids who are not yet in the age of 7, 8 to be able to read, and there are options for read out loud or some video or audio feedback. Also a useful way of utilizing this tool is for travel, learning languages, presenting something in a different cultural background or linguistic source. If you were ever traveling around Russia, China, or some country that doesn't use Latinic letters, you've probably faced this problem of how to put that into Google Translate. With augmented reality tool, which is now already available in Google Translate, it will recognize letters in front of you and just overlay them in real time in front of you with translation. That is real-time feedback. That is what engages people in learning as well. So might be used for learning new languages from young age on, and in a very natural way, in a situational way, when you learn when you need it. Of course, last few examples are very logical, I would say. STEM subjects, things that are often abstract. So when we talk about chemistry, we talk about elements, atoms, compounds which we cannot see, which we usually imagine when we read it in the book. The closest thing we can get is a picture that describes it, illustrates it. And this way we can have an actual object that we can manipulate to create those compounds. If you can see on the picture below, there are 2 cards which can be moved one towards the other, so 2 elements. When we combine them, we get this compound. There is this kinesthetic element to it, which really makes a difference. If you look at it on my camera now, I'm showing you paper pyramids, which are really easy to make. It's a paper template with a few images around, and each image is a trigger, which means that it can be scanned and show some content. If we connect them in some way, we can get a different picture. which when we scan gives us a different content, and we can learn in that way. We can also use puzzle pieces. When connected right, they give us an image. So it's really good to use this tool for demonstration of things which are usually abstract. That's one of the benefits that we use the most. Starting from really, really tiny things that we can't see to something so big that we cannot show it in front of us. So a globe, universe, or some natural processes and how our mountains formed. All of these things can be not just shown with AR, but also experienced in a way. You can interact with the planet, you can turn it around, you can see it from all sides, go around it to see some details on the other side. Or this very specific AR sandbox, which is, by the way, available if you want to download the software for projector. It's UC Davis. They've developed this idea of having a sandbox. It's normal sand, so it's just a sandbox that has a projection on top with normal projector, but recognizes differences in height. So as you modify it in real time, it changes colors and demonstrates for you processes of formation of mountains and seas and lakes and rivers, and you can create water as well. It's a very straightforward way for people to learn about processes of physical processes of Earth's core. It's used for older students too, to maybe demonstrate some catastrophes, to place little monopoly houses on where they would probably feel safe on this whole map, and then demonstrating catastrophes and trying to survive in this scenario. There's a lot of things you can do with AR as long as you have an idea, you have a problem you're solving, so it needs to be meaningful. That's the whole idea that I want to emphasize today. Of course, very, very popular. Medicine and learning of structures. Whatever has a structure that you need to learn, some labels that you need to learn different bones, different parts of nervous system, or something that would be good to visualize. AR is really good for this. So we have multiple applications already created for human body, for learning anatomy, learning different systems of the body for levels from primary school to medical school in higher education as well. So those are all examples. Now when we talk about actual AR and how we create it, it's got a very simple formula. Trigger or a marker is a physical part of this experience. It's something in the environment that starts this process. It can be a front cover of a book. It can be a logo, a card, a t-shirt design, tattoo on your arm. It really doesn't matter as long as you can either take a photograph of that or it's something that your phone can recognize in the environment. And then on the other side, we have this digital butterfly, which can move. It's a digital overlay, which we add on top of the trigger. So we have a physical part, a trigger, and a digital part, overlay, which together give us an AR experience. We can see it through a device, so there is always a device in the middle and access through some code or automatically. I'm going to demonstrate that now shortly, but I first want to tell you a few bits about triggers and overlays, and then I'm going to demonstrate in Blipper how it works. So starting with triggers, you can use different things, not only images, but it all works on the same image recognition system. So in my work, I tend to challenge this side of the equation. What can be a trigger? It can be an image. As seen on the picture, there is a $1 bill, which starts a 3D experience of seeing the White House. Then you can also, instead of an image, use a QR code. But if you can use an image, I would always suggest an image, because even though QR codes are very good for your phones to recognize, it's a high contrast image, I think images, actual pictures, would engage the learner more. You can indicate what's in it, what's behind it, with a picture. or you can use 3D objects. 3D objects have become a real deal breaker for marketing, because if you have a sneaker that you're trying to sell, or a Coca-Cola can, or some product that you're selling, if your users can also interact with it in a way, get some extra content with it. So if you buy this soda in a can and you scan it and you get a game, you get some extra filters, you get some extra added value, that is something that sells. So we are seeing increase in using 3D objects as triggers. So your phone is trying to recognize a 3D object around you from any angle. And of course, something that is still kind of in development, not the best, but works, locations. If you don't have a specific object that you can link to this, if you're trying to make an experience for a town square and you don't know how town square is going to look like, what is going to be there, who's going to, if all the objects are not fixed, you might be better off using a location. Problems with location is that it's linked to maps, which don't yet recognize levels. So if you have an institution that has several floors, and on the 3rd floor you have a laboratory where you want to put some AR, and you're going to have a difficulty of height. The same AR experience might be shown in all the floors. So that's still open for a little bit of development, but so far we're getting there. From my mistakes, I've learned a lot. I've created a lot of AR experiences so far. And first thing that I've learned is that I need to always mark the trigger. You need to indicate for all the viewers, what do they need to scan? Because if there is no indication that something can be scanned, they either won't scan at all, or are going to start scanning everything in their environment and get frustrated with not finding the right thing. I have developed a system with my students where orange borders on images mean that there is something that can be scanned. Due to using Blipper app, which is orange, I've tried to color code this and just indicate orange borders for everyone to know that there is a material behind it. This is something that should be scanned. Another practical tip would be to be careful when you're laminating. So if you have a trigger image that is maybe your business card, if you have some sort of glossy finish on it, it could cause glare from light, and that could interfere with image recognition. Another little tip is complexity of this trigger. It needs to be different enough from the environment. So it cannot be just one little dot on the white paper, because there's so many dots in the environment that your phone will not be able to recognize that as a trigger. So it needs to be complicated enough. It needs to be marked, and it shouldn't be laminated. You can still laminate as long as it's a matte finish. So keep that in mind. Moving to a digital side of this story. So what can be in a digital overlay of our trigger? We have a lot of options, including images, the most popular option, definitely. Augmented means expanded, means enhanced in a way. So if you have one photograph that you really like from your travel abroad, but you also have a full folder of other photos that you enjoy, you might wish to put one on the wall because there's a limited space in actual reality, but then use all the other photographs to add them to a digital space. Digital space is unlimited. So you can have numerous pages. You can, when you scan that photograph on your wall, scroll through other photos and have them all there, even though only one is in reality on our wall. You can also use audio, which is a great opportunity for musicians to overlay written notes with actual audio files, which will play this melody. Or you can use it for, in education, I tend to use it as a tool for accessibility. We have some students who have dyslexia or who struggle with reading or visual side of the story. So I usually add a button which will read out loud everything that is on that page. For students with dyslexia, I have these little stickers which read the chapter. They will follow in the book, but they will have this extra layer of support when they can hear this being read in case they've read something wrong. It really helps with the accessibility side of things, and you should keep that in mind. If there is an option to do that, it's your duty and responsibility to include it in your experiences. Exciting news is that you can use 3D models as well. So if you have some experience in creating these 3D models, you will easily just drag and drop them, upload them to your experiences. Work exactly the same like images and audios. You just overlay those triggers with some 3D models. It can be an art, or it can be a model of a shoe that you're trying to sell. Also, they're pre-made 3D objects. So if you're not experienced in creating these things, it's not a big problem. There are sites that offer free educational 3D models, which include everything from historical objects, old cars, maybe also human body parts, and I don't know, geography, flags, whatever you need. It's all available. Someone has made it and made it probably available online. So feel free to use those files too. Of course, very simple, but very, very effective. Using videos. So I don't know if you've seen it in newspaper AR with newspaper parts, where you can scan one part of a newspaper article and it will automatically start a video of that maybe part of the show, TV show, or someone telling you news. That is really, you know, saving you some time to read the whole thing. And you can also use it for education very effectively. If you have videos of your lectures, videos of some things that you've described, tutorials for maths or some sort of process, it's useful to add them to your assessment guidance, to your summaries, worksheets, whatever you're using for your students. If it's there and if it's really straightforward explanation, they're going to use it. It's like a speed dial to avoid the searching of materials, which can be sometimes in VLE after 10 login pages in some folder of materials. So it's making things quicker. Right, from using this for a while, I've learned that bigger files load longer, which means that if you have a video, which is an hour long, it's going to take a while for that to load on someone's phone. So you need to keep in mind how much you load these experiences. You can have a few photos. Photos can be in a lower resolution, so they are not such big files, and then they load instantly. And videos in a lower quality, because if you're going to see them on a little phone screen, it doesn't really have to be crystal clear. Wow. So another very practical advice. So headphones for larger group. If you ever had a classroom with, I don't know, 30 students, and if they all try to start a video, they're going to start in different times, and in no time you're going to have great noise and it's going to become chaotic. So if you have videos or audios or something that can make noise, make sure you supply them with headphones, because in that way they can all watch in their own time. That is something that I've learned the hard way. So now I would like to show you how this works in a short demo, where I'm going to create the simplest possible AR experience on top of the front page of this book. Later I will show you more fun features and demonstrate how they're used. But if you want to follow me and maybe try to create one for yourself, I would need you to create an account. So with blipper.com, that's the page we're using now, blipper.com. If you are creating AR, you need an account. But if you're just a student, if you're someone on the side who just wants to see this experience, you don't need an account, you just need an app. So don't worry about any kind of data collection or anything from their side, because it's anonymous for everyone who is accessing this experience, but you as a creator to be able to access the platform and save your designs, access them later, edit them, you will need an account. It's not a big account. It takes 3 minutes to create. It just asks for your first name, surname, email, password, and you also click that you're going to use it for education or personal use. That way you get all these free features, and yeah, you need to confirm your email, but that's about it. It will take you maybe 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. So if you want to do that, if your plan is to follow this and create your experience, I would strongly suggest you click pause now and do these 2-3 steps and click play again, because I'm gonna go further. I'm gonna go straight to Blipper, open my account and start creating. So click pause if you're gonna do this by yourself, but we're now gonna go to my Blipper. Right, if this is working well, you can see now my Blipper screen. Over here, you can see some creations that I've made before. You can also create folders in this corner here. New project makes a folder, or you can create an app AR or web AR. Difference is that app AR requires an app on your phone to access. You scan with that, or web AR, is used to create experiences which are started with a link. So when you add your experience, you are given a link, and then you share that link. Whoever adds a link can view that experience on their phone. We're going to be using app AR today, and I'm going to be creating it in this folder, EdMedia. So when you open a new folder, or when you've just created your account, you will see a screen like this. Like I've explained, we're going to create an app project, and we're going to start from scratch. We're usually starting from trigger, from a real reality object that's going to start this. In this case, this is going to be a book. A way to add this is to add a digital photograph of what you want to overlay this with. I have a folder here of materials I'm going to use. Book I'm using is Artemis Fowl because it's connected to my project. It's for primary school. It's recommended reading for year 5, so it might not be the age group you're going to create for, but feel free to pick any photo on your computer and try this experience just for practice. So in this folder, I have, if you can see this, I have a front cover of this page, just this bit. I'm going to open that, and that is one trigger. I can add up to 20, which means that this same thing can work on multiple front covers or multiple assessment guidance documents if you have more groups. I'm going to call this test. When I click continue, it's going to open Blipper dashboard, something that we create in. It is relatively simple, but I'm going to give you a short introduction to what we're seeing here and what we're going to use. You will always see your trigger in the background. It is something you're creating on. So whatever we digitally place on this net, it's going to be shown on top of this book when we scan it. We're also working in 3D space because something can be right on the surface or closer to us as we watch it, right? So all you need to know about Blipper Builder is that you have left-hand side, where are all the things that you import, all the things that you add on top of this. And on the right-hand side, you have edit options, modifications in color and text. You can modify in so many ways that you can really create exactly what you had in mind. So let's try with a simple thing from the left side. Left-hand side offers elements, which are pre-made 3D objects, or widgets. Widgets are pre-made buttons for social media, PDFs, videos, galleries, all sorts of things. It's all pre-programmed, so you don't have to do that part. Really quick for you to use. And we have uploads, which is a summary of all the elements that we add from our computer. So you can add any kind of table or explanation video or anything that you've created. So it makes this experience truly yours. Right, so we're going to start with an element, just some random element like this cube, because I want to show you navigation around. If you see this little part with few buttons, that's a navigation pad. That's something you're going to be using all the time. Okay, so we can start by moving it a little bit. That's the lowest button. So we use these handles to move around. We can move in different directions. And we can also scale this. That's the second button. Second button changes these handles into something that we can move around and scale. So again, it's very friendly, it's very intuitive. You just drag those things that you want to change. There's also a rotation button, which allows us to rotate in 3D in all directions in this experience, this element. You can see that it's now going through the net. When something goes behind this net, it means that it won't be shown because it's behind our trigger. But you are able to check that with this little cube over here, which you drag and drop. So it's in the middle. It's got all sides. See? Or you can drag and drop it to place it in however you want. If you get lost, if you end up in a very weird position, you don't know how to go back, there is a home button. When you click that, you go to the first position, original position that someone sees when they scan this. Right, now that we've rotated all around, I'm going to show you all the options that we have on the right-hand side. From layout, it offers us to do all these things that we just did, rotation, position, scale, but in a very specific point. So if you want this to be placed all the way on the right, in line with something else, you can edit that with adjusting numbers. Or you can, down below, color it differently. See, it can be green, and it can be transparent if we want it to be transparent. So you have all sorts of options to edit these elements that you add. You can even add a texture file if you want this cube or a ball to look like earth or something else. There is an action for each element you add. So if you add a picture that looks like a button, or you add even this cube, if you wanted to start something on touch, so when you see it on your screen, if you touch on it, what happens then? That is something you can edit. So it says action on touch on the right hand side, and it gives us a drop down menu where we can choose all sorts of things. It can call a number, it can start a website, it can play audio, video, go to your LinkedIn page, YouTube page, some web page, or go to scene if we want multiple pages of this experience. Right, now that we know all that, let's create a simple experience. Really useful thing that I forgot to say, you can use all keyboard shortcuts that you're used to. So Control-C would copy this box, sorry, and Control-V will paste another box. So copy-paste works from your keyboard. Also delete. So if I delete these boxes because we don't need them, we're left with a clean slate to work on. For a very simple demonstration, I'm going to upload a few things. I'm going to upload a video. It's a video review of this book. You can see the progress of the upload on top. If your internet is slow or is facing some difficulties, this might fail, in which case you should try again and it will work most times. So when it's uploaded, you will see it on the left-hand side. We upload our elements again on the left-hand side under uploads. It's going to save all the things that you've used in previous creations as well. So once it's uploaded, yes, it's uploaded, there we go. What we do, same thing like we do with the box, we drag and drop it straight onto our trigger. And there we have it. That is video right there done. I'm going to show you now how to see it on your device, on your phone. So to be able to access that, I need to edit codes. We have two options on the top right corner, publish or preview. For education and free use, I would suggest preview because it works with a test code, access code. Well, publish works for everyone, everywhere around the world. It means if someone scans with this app your Artemis Fowl book, they will all see this experience that you've made. If you're using a preview button, they will see it only if they have a code that is for free. Publish option costs £10 or around €8-9. For preview, we can pick which code to use. Like in Zoom's, in its Zoom meetings, it's going to offer this kind of number, or we can edit that too with our keyboard options, say test, or yeah, test. Oh my God, my spelling today is great. Test, or I can add more codes if I want to. I can add as many codes as I want. It can also work with code EdMedia or, I don't know, Amsterdam. There we go. We have 3 codes and each will work for this experience. You can have 1, it's fine. So when you're done with that, you review the whole thing you've done. It will show you which trigger it works on. If you have multiple ones, if these little arrows are going to work for you to go through all the triggers. On the left-hand side, you have all the test codes that you're using, and we're going to publish this to test. When you publish the test, it works on all devices. So don't worry if it sounds like it's not working. All people who have this image or this book and the code to use will be able to access this experience. Right. So now I would like to share something different. I would like to share my phone screen. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so that's my phone screen. And you can see here I have an app called Blipper. When I click on that, it will open my camera. Here you can see my laptop, my hand. Right. So if you look at this corner here, you can see it says code test. How you add codes is by clicking that button above, which will open settings. And among settings, there are not that many really. You click on this enter test code part, and you can either remove this code, add a new code. Let's use test, but we can also use EdMedia or Amsterdam or whichever we've chosen. And we click to close on the bottom. Then we can again see our camera where I have this book, and I'm going to click on the bottom here. I'm going to click tap to scan. That's how this works. And it recognizes the image. And here is our video. This is what we've just added. If I play it. There we go. It works. So now that we know it works, I'm going to show you a few more examples, a few more ideas of how you can use augmented reality for learning. Right, back to the presentation. If you've done this so far, you've probably tried to use your app and maybe see your experience. If you're using this for education, I would like to highlight that things you must have for this to work is good internet, good lighting, and reliable app. Reliable app in my case is Blipper, but you can use whichever other app suits your purpose. You will need good internet. If internet is bad at any point, if the connection goes is broken, it will give you a notification inside the app that internet is the issue, which helps for my students and pupils who are younger to deal with the frustration of something not working. If they know it's internet, they are patient and they wait a little bit and try again. Good lighting is important for image recognition. So if I was in dark environment, probably phone wouldn't recognize this image. Simple as that. You should also ensure data protection and digital ethics. It depends which app you're using. Blipper doesn't require students or audience to make any kind of account, so they're completely anonymous and their data is not really recognizable in that sense. Inclusion and accessibility goes with options that I've described. If there is an option to add read out loud or add options in other languages, that would be really good to utilize, because if you have that opportunity, you have also responsibility towards everyone who is using this to make it as accessible for everyone as you can. Then, of course, playful part is mix and match, where you can use multiple features which are available over there. You can add at the same time videos and images and galleries and links and PDFs. I'm going to show you all that in the next slide and also demonstrate how it's used in Flipper. And you can use different codes for the same trigger. Now that's the differentiation in learning part, which I wanted to show you here just quickly, but I have another presentation in EdMedia that covers that exactly. It means that if you have one trigger image like this, and you have two devices, one using code left and one using code right, it can show different things to different students. So if you have a student who speaks Italian and you have a student who speaks English, they can scan the same book, and for one student, for Italian student, it will show questions in Italian, and for English student, it can show questions in English. You can easily utilize this option just by changing the code, and I think by having those options, it really is your duty to offer that kind of differentiated learning. We're finally in that stage where we have those options, and I think it's time to take care of our students in that way. So now let's talk about creativity, about your ideas. I'm going to try to show you as many examples as I can, just to tickle your creativity, your imagination with your problems and your tools and your practice, things that you can improve at the moment with this tool. You can create AR worksheets, posters, libraries, and also you can use it for personal fun, I would say. So this is that photograph from traveling abroad that I've told you about. So this is what's usually on my wall, and when I scan it, it gives me an itinerary of a Scotland trip that I've took last year. And when I click on the button, there's a gallery of images, of other images that I didn't put on the wall, but I really like. There's also an option for a video. So I've added a video of this, of our trip to Scotland. And audio as well. Anyway, other options include so the whole idea is to see things in everyday life and apply them in education. With AR being mainstream, we've seen it in art and in street art, especially where walls are augmented with extra content. We've used the same idea in education in primary schools, where young students in their first year are introducing themselves to their peers by using video introductions which are overlaid on their drawings. In that way, other students, other peers are encouraged to scan other images as well, and that gives them something to talk about, and they see each other in a very nice and creative way. They're also learning digital skills from early age, which might interest them in future careers in STEM. We've used the same thing in higher education and for conferences as well. So same system works across different levels. On the right-hand side, you can see my research poster on flow state theory. And I've used AR here to overlay different parts of this poster. Of course, at that point, I didn't learn yet that I need to mark my AR-enabled content. So it was a little bit confusing for people to find what is scannable. But if you were to scan this part of the poster with the main theorists who inspired me, you would be able to download PDFs of their work, some links to their web pages and extra content. And I've also used the fact that augmented reality allows me to expand the space. Limited space on a poster really doesn't allow me to have a lot of tables of data that I've collected. So I've overlaid that on these bubbles with percentages. If you scan one of the bubbles with percentages, you would get a table and the process of how I got that number. Conclusions and quotes from students also can be scannable to give more information depending on what a person looking wants to see, what is interested in it. So it gives you a little bit of extra space on your poster. It's really useful. Moving on to something more academically based. newspapers that we've seen, sometimes including AR, with videos overlaid to some articles. I've used that system to create summary for assessment guidance. So here we have a module, TLD 1002, which finishes with an essay, the first essay that students need to do in a year. And since they're not on the same level yet about with their academic writing or structuring or referencing, we had to cover all of those things, and assessment guidance ended up being over 10 pages long. So I've created one-page summary, which actually summarizes all the important things of what you need to create for this assessment. And then each part, which is orange, like I've said, that system of having an orange color-coded indication that something is scannable. So each part here, each bubble that indicates something, is actually opening another set of content. So you can see on other photos that there is a referencing guide in PDF. There are most common mistakes in critical reading. There's some inspirational videos from TED-Ed, and there's of course assessment criteria, examples, art tutorial videos, all of that overlaid on one paper. So if you go from one section to another, if you go from introduction to analysis of policy and laws, they would get a video of their tutor explaining how to do this section of the assignment. It's really useful, and students love it because it's, yeah, they call it speed dial, because it actually helps them do this quicker, because all of these materials are actually available on our VLE, on our virtual learning environment, but you need to go through several signing pages and find it among folders while you're already in the process of writing. So to actually support their flow in writing, we're trying to make this accessible really quickly. Another idea that we come up with is actually came from AR business cards. The main idea behind a business card is actually communication, interaction that you are trying to have with other people. That interaction side of AR is really useful and can be made into a practical tool for education. For older students, we've made an interactive timetable, so they have a set of all the sessions that they attend, and when they scan each part of this, each session of their timetable, it gives them a reading needed for that session, PowerPoint that's going to be used. Then if there is some urgent news like room change, it can be added that same morning or instantaneously. As you've seen in the example, as soon as we created something, it's available, and we can scan it right away. It's available on all devices. That way we can communicate things like this quicker to our students who might not open their emails as often. Also, there is a great button function that says email tutor, which instead of if you're a student, you would have to go through VLE, find this course, find this module, find this tutor, click on email, enter your email, enter their email, write the body of an email. We've actually jumped across all of these things just by adding an email tutor button, which is pre-programmed. You just drag and drop it, and it creates a draft email on your address, which they just edit and say, I'm going to be late due to this and that, or I cannot attend the session due to this and that. That has improved our communication with students and overall attendance as well, their experience of studying, and the ease of access to their tutors, to the communication with us. Of course, triggers being not only 2D, my passion in challenging the trigger side of things. You can also print out triggers on t-shirts. You can take a photograph of pre-made t-shirt or paper objects and overlay them with some AR. Taking an example from AR fashion, from those mirrors that we've seen, if we can overlay t-shirt on ourselves, we can also overlay a model of human body on our actual body, so where it should be located. As you can see on the picture, there is a t-shirt that represents chest and all the structures of bones and organs that are in it. But it can also be just fun. This is an example of an AR creation that I made with 10-year-olds. So we've added some things that are close to us that we cannot access right now due to COVID. COVID crisis has isolated us from maybe our families, our friends, our pets, dear things on the other side of the city that we maybe cannot go to. So we've decided to bring all that close to us and overlaid our t-shirts with something dear to us. I've chosen my favorite music and some and pictures of my dog. So it was just a fun activity to learn and create some AR, and 10-year-olds managed to do that, so I'm sure you would be able to. Now that you've seen all the advanced options, I would like to show you how that works in Blipper. You're again invited to follow on your computer and maybe create something yourself. I'm gonna share my screen again to Blipper. Right, so we're back, and I'm gonna just click continue editing from where we left. Right, we're back to our dashboard. I think we'll just move this video a little bit and maybe add a few more files. So again, on the left-hand side, we add things. On the right-hand side, we edit things. So from the left-hand side, I'm gonna go to uploads, and I'm gonna add some of the main characters from the book, their pictures. Now I'm uploading 6 photo items, but it shouldn't take too long. Yeah, they're done. And I'm also gonna add some buttons. Buttons are just images. So these are things that I've created in PowerPoint. You can download them online from Google as well, as long as they don't have a background so it doesn't stick out. We're also gonna add these 2 buttons, 3, and maybe some information. Right. So you see one is failed to upload. That is probably due to internet. Oh wait, which one? Arrow. I'll do that again. So now that we have everything we need here uploaded, it's very easy to create things. So we're gonna start with maybe with a button. So button is a picture with an action, that's all. Button is just added action to some image that we can click on screen. I'm gonna start with Artemis button. It is a bit too big, so I'm gonna scale it from the navigation pane on the right, a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna add it here somewhere. Right, so now if I want this to lead me somewhere, I need to add a few more pages or scenes. Pages in Blipper are called scenes, and you can find them in the bottom corner on the left. If you click on scene 1, that's a page 1, or a general page, front page that we see no matter what we open. And then we can also add other pages, other scenes, if you want to have more space, of course, to work on. Scene 2, or if you want to call this somehow differently, you can call this page 3. There we go. So we're going to be on scene 2 now. That's page 2. That's where this button is supposed to take us. But going back, you now have these 2 navigation arrows below. If you go back to scene 1 and you click on this Artemis picture, which is going to become a button in a second, you would want to edit it on the right-hand side. And the first option you have is action on touch. That's where we made it into a button. You click on no action, and you have a drop-down menu of all the options you can use. So what happens when you touch that specific element? It can start at YouTube, it can take you to Instagram, Facebook, product pages, or all the way in the bottom, there is go to scene. That's like flipping a page. We're gonna choose that, and we can select which page it takes us to. We're gonna select page 2, scene 2, and that's ready now to take us to page 2. That's the interactivity that I was mentioning. So now we have a button that takes us to the second page. Let's go and edit that second page. We could add maybe a photo of Artemis. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to uploads section, and I'm just dragging and dropping things on top of my dashboard. So I've taken this photograph and I'm going to add it here, but it is huge. So I'm going to scale it down to something that can fit. There we go. We have a picture of the main character, Artemis. And I'm going to add some more information about it. So maybe a little info. This is just a table from PowerPoint, which I've saved as a picture. And as a picture, I've uploaded it here. So maybe a little quote from the book to have something about this Artemis character. Right, that goes here. You see, navigation pane is very often used. It's something that you're going to use all the time to adjust where things are on the screen. Remember, we are working in a 3D space. So if you want this photograph to go a little bit closer to you, and maybe this even closer, and then click home to see where it is. See, this is popping out. Let's leave it like that just to see how it will look on our experience. What we cannot forget when we have pages is those arrows who take us back and forth, like navigation buttons. It's like a page flipper. I'm gonna add this arrow that I have over there, and I'm gonna make a button out of it again, mainly because I need something to take me back. Once I'm on the page 2, there is no way to go back from it if I don't have a button. So a little bit of space for it. And I'm gonna, how do we create a button? Again, on the right-hand side where we edit, we add action on touch. And instead of no action, from a drop-down menu, we choose go to scene and pick which page we go to. Now we're not going to one page further, we're going back to scene 1. That way we have this whole connection of going to the page 2 and going back to page 1. So if you remember, on the scene 1, we have this button Artemis. It goes to scene 2. And on the scene 2, we have this arrow that takes us back to scene 1. Brilliant. So all we did today, this whole experience took us 5 minutes to create. Let's add a little something more. Maybe a gallery, because that's something that is used frequently. So it's among widgets on the left-hand side. That tab offers so many options, including a website links, that call button that I told you about, email button, calendars, and the gallery. I'm going to use gallery now because I have some photos of those main characters. And to add photos to the gallery, you just edit the gallery, which is again on the right-hand side. You can see here that it allows you to add up to 15 images. And I'm going to browse and add those pictures that I've just uploaded. Maybe a few more. And yeah, let's add 6 so that we can navigate a little bit among them. You can also modify the sequence. So if I want this character to go after and that one, you can edit the sequence of photos as you click around. So now we have a gallery, we have a button, we have a video, we have another scene, another page. I think it would be a good thing to add maybe one more thing and then try it out. In terms of using this for education, you will probably use PDFs a lot. So documents that you want to share, be it a presentation PDF or some sort of worksheet. I'm going to show you how that is made. So using a PDF button that's on the side here, I again drag and drop it here. It creates a button automatically. This one says view PDF, which is not really something that's engaging in my opinion. So I'm gonna, on the left-hand side, change that label from view PDF to worksheet. There we go. And I'm gonna change color into yellow. Nah, it's not really nice. You can also change it into a specific shade if you have maybe your university institutional colors or something that you tend to use as a branding. All right, so what we still haven't done is added PDF to this button. So all the way in the top, action on touch again, but now it's asking for a file because this is a PDF button and it's asking for a PDF file. When I click on that, it's going to search my computer for a file. In this folder of things that I'm using today, I have a worksheet. I have an Artemis Fowl worksheet with some tasks and summaries of the book. So we've got that, and we might actually even add a website while we're here because it's that quick. So it's the same process. We just drag and drop. It's asking for a link now. So not a file, but a link. I'm going to go to my next tab where I have this Artemis Fowl movie link. And I'm going to add that because that's something that's trending now. So we have a link over there, and that is done. I can also change label to movie and maybe make it blue. Brilliant. So those two buttons, I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller. Right, that's ready. This can go maybe a bit further. Yeah, I'm always arranging things. That's my destiny, I guess. There we go. We've got buttons, we've got websites, we've got links, PDFs, like different pages. I think it's time for us to check what we've made and see how it looks like on the phone. For that to work, I need to click on preview again to save it as a test again. So I'm going to use the same codes, everything the same. Amsterdam, EdMedia, and test. You can see it's not case sensitive, so it doesn't matter what word you use, what code you use. Letters are always small. Okay, publish to test. Let's try this now. You see, it's very quick to do this when you know where the options are and where everything is located. I'm going to share again my phone screen. Okay. Now you can see my phone. Yeah, all right. We're going to go to Blipper app again. And we've got this experience back. So I'm just going to go out of it. Right, it's clear. We have code test over there, so it's ready. I'm going to press tap to scan. And it's taking a little bit longer now to load due to that many files, but we've got everything that we've put in. So let's try to move these picture gallery a little bit. When I'm tapping on the side, it's changing photos. That's good, that works. Video.
This is a quick summary and analysis of our—
Good, it's working. Worksheet opens, something is happening with your screen there, but it's opening a PDF worksheet. And then we have a movie link. Let's see what happens with the movie link. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's opening Disney site. All right, and now let's try the button. Button is this Artemis picture. When I click on that, we're on page 2. Page 2 gives us, you can see it's in 3D, exactly how we made it. And we can go back on the button with an arrow. There we go, everything works. Good side of this is that even if you move, if I move from this experience, it's still gonna stay on my phone. That is really useful for students who might have some physical difficulties and might not be able to hold still above the trigger. It's still going to recognize it and it's going to stabilize it as much as it can on the phone. So it's easing the use in that way. Right. So as we've seen that, I hope your experiences are working too. I would like to show you something else now. So not all experiences need to be started with an app. If you try this web AR, you'll be able to create something like this. This is a sphere map that is like a photo ball, which puts a viewer in the middle and means that you can turn around and see all these photos that are placed around. That way I've created a 360 degrees art exhibition. In time of COVID, it was supposed to be cancelled, this exhibition of photographs and artwork. And it's made for Papuk, which is a national park in Croatia. I've tried to help them by transferring all of their photos and everything in digital form like this. We have 2 links that we've shared with people in social media, in newspaper, and over 300 people have clicked on it and view this exhibition. So it saves people time and space to go and visit it, and they can do it from the safety of their home. We've made it with the exhibition in very challenging times, and it was all made through Blipper. That experience actually requires a lot of positioning. So it was still drag and drop, very simple, no programming. But I needed to place those pictures all around in the circle in a perfect order and scale that it would be visible from all corners. If you're interested, you can click on both of these links or put them in your browser and check out this experience. I've heard that maybe it doesn't work in Firefox or something like that. It works best in your phone browsers, but if you want to use it on a computer over Chrome, it should work. Right, if you have any kind of feedback on that, I would be very happy to see that too. Or if you have your experiences that you've created that you want to share with me, I would be happy to see them too. You can, since this is not, this is just a recording, so we cannot ask questions here, but if you have questions, I'm happy to have them on my email. You can ask something on the LinkedIn profile or on Twitter. I'm really active on Twitter, so if you have questions or comments, I'm happy to see them over there. There is also on the bottom augmentedtoys.org, which is my site where I've put all the tutorials and everything that I do with augmented reality for teachers and educators to see and use, available to everyone. In EdMedia, at EdMedia conference this year, I have 2 more papers that I'm presenting. So one is a virtual paper, which can be seen as a video, which is describing these materials that I'm creating. So individual and collaborative creations. So from paper pyramids and little puzzle pieces to those fidgeting toys, right? Fidgeting toy, which I've made interactive. You've got all of them described in that virtual paper, and there is also a research paper which explores barriers to engagement with these materials. So in my research, I've done some interviews and questionnaires with pupils and teachers and summarized, for start, only things that they've seen as barriers in order to share that as soon as possible to maybe help someone create their AR as successful as possible. So this is all for me at the moment. And if you have some questions, I would be happy to interact with you in some social media platform, whichever you prefer. I would, really enjoy interacting with you, maybe collaborating on some project in the future. Last year when I was in EdMedia, I have made some great networks with colleagues in South Africa, which has resulted in projects being developed later. I visited them over there for a week to teach them how to use augmented reality. They're here with us this year presenting their work, so I'm really proud of things that we can create and do online in this time. So feel free to join the fun, and I will see you in other presentations too. Thank you very much.